You're watching UATV News. My name is Ina Kosinska. Good evening. Attraction of business investments is the main strategy of Ukraine, Prime Minister Denys Shmygal stated. In Brussels, he met with representatives of European businesses. At present, the government, jointly with Parliament and experts, are developing a national economic strategy until 2030. Denys Shmygal also noted that Ukraine has less suffered the corona crisis than other European countries, losing only 4.5% of GDP. This year, the experts forecast more than 4.5% economic growth.
We want Ukrainian business to have more access to European markets, and we hope that our negotiations will help increase the volume of quotas provided by our agreement with the EU.
Large foreign investors will have the state preferences. Such a law was signed by President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. It foresees investing of over 20 million euros in companies in certain spheres, for example, manufacturing, transportation, logistics, education and healthcare. Investors will be able to receive tax breaks, land or assistance in building infrastructure. The Ukraine International Airlines plane crash in Iran may not be a fatal mistake, but a premeditated attack. Canadian intelligence received secret recordings of a conversation with possible evidence of a terrible crime more than a year ago. It is preliminarily known that the voice on the tape discussing options of how to shoot down a civilian plane probably belongs to head of the Iranian Foreign Ministry. Ukraine is going to verify the authenticity of this recording. To remind, on January 8 last year, a Boeing of Ukraine International Airlines was shot down by the Iranian military in the skies over Tehran. All 176 people on board died.
We conducted a series of telephone conversations with representatives of the pre-trial investigation bodies and the prosecutor's office who are in contact with our foreign colleagues, and they will control this record in order to establish authenticity. I want to note that we and our investigators have enough experience working with interceptions, and the investigation of the MH17 case is a shining example of that.
Ukraine received 10 high-speed boats and 70 inflatable boats from the USA. Besides, within the frameworks of cooperation, diving equipment, thermal imagers, communication and radar technical complexes were provided. Ukrainian sailors will receive 3 patrol boats from the United States in the first half of 2021. The COVID-19 incidence rate in Ukraine has started growing again. Over the past day, 5,039 cases were registered. 6,568 overcame the disease. Most of the cases are in Kyiv, as well as in Ivano-Frankivsk, Vinnytsia, Transcarpathian and Zhytomyr regions. The Russian vaccine Sputnik V is officially banned in Ukraine now. The resolution was signed by the Prime Minister of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the number of patients with coronavirus complications has increased significantly in the country, and the Ministry of Health is considering the possibility of return to adaptive quarantine. My colleagues know more.
The number of patients hospitalized with COVID-19 has significantly increased in Ukraine. Over the past day, almost 2,000 people were taken to hospitals.
There is a large number of those hospitalized in serious condition. Those people are not those who were hospitalized at the beginning of pandemic, when we had mostly light forms of the disease. There was no need for hospitalization, but people wanted it because they were afraid. And now everyone knows more about COVID-19 and they go to hospital very late, in very serious conditions.
There are more patients in serious condition in Lviv as well. It should be noted that the patients who are now hospitalized are younger. We are talking about complicated clinical cases of patients aged 35 years and older, who come in a serious condition even having no pathologies. Due to the number of serious cases, the Ministry of Health plans to return the adaptive quarantine by the end of the month. This is said to help to understand in which region the situation has stabilized and where quarantine should be tightened.
Zoning, which was introduced and used in summer, as well as introduction of the adaptive variants of the quarantine, is a common practice. And the new formats are being discussed in the EU now because of the issues related to the British and other strains of the virus.
The Ministry of Health said said that the main task of the adaptive quarantine is to provide medical care to everyone who needs it in time. The red zone will be introduced in territories where the number hospitalized during a week increased by more than half, or over 65% of beds provided with oxygen are occupied. First, they will report local governments, businesses or other entities that there is a risk of further spread of the virus in the particular region, which could lead to negative consequences. If the number of cases and hospitalizations increase, there is a risk of healthcare system failure. Vaccination campaign is in full swing in the occupied Crimea. Officially, this is a volunteer procedure. However, according to local human rights activists, Crimeans were left with no choice. They had to get vaccinated.
The law demands that people who work in public places, teachers, doctors, should be vaccinated, but no one can force them to get vaccines. However, their activities could be stopped, so to say, suspended. The teacher will not be able to go to work, she or he will either have to quit or get vaccinated. But the legislation does not say that there is some kind of compulsory vaccination.
Not once the Ukrainian authorities have announced that Ukrainians will be vaccinated against coronavirus only with a proven safe and effective drug. And the Russian Sputnik V will definitely not be on this list. Reported by Roman Smoler, Svetlana Sich, UATV News.
Ukraine remains in captivity of a bad weather. Snowstorms, frost down to -20 in the capital and rains in the east. 12 settlements remained without electricity supply. Schools and kindergartens were closed in Kyiv. According to forecasters, a new cyclone is approaching Ukraine from the north of Italy, which means that frost will also add to the snowfalls.
Kyiv. Shifting on the road, slippery sidewalks and the road to work instead the usual half an hour takes 3 times more. Pedestrians overcome the snow drifts.
You see, there are bumps everywhere. I went to work in the morning, it was difficult to get there, and even cars drive very slowly, and therefore there are lots of traffic jams. Everything is slowing down and the city is standing still.
The public utilities managed to clear the driveways only by afternoon. Now they started cleaning the roads when the traffic jams got smaller, and in the morning at night no one cleaned anything. That's the result. When trying to park, Vyacheslav almost lost his license plate. In the capital, forecasters are still promising -20-degree frost. In Donetsk and Luhansk region today, freezing temperatures, rain and ice on the roads. However, the warming will be replaced by frost.
On February 12th, it will be warm at night, and on the 13th, cold air with wet snow will come and the temperature will drop, and it will be -1 or less. Later, on February 14th, 15th, 16th, it will be cold and frosty in the eastern regions, with the temperature at first -8 and then -15, 18 degrees.
This is Vinnytsia region. Policemen deliver food to retires. And at the same time, they help clear away the snow, which has already become crusty.
Here is crust. It must be removed with a shovel, and for that it is necessary to have strength. Here the policeman has force. Let him throw.
Forecasters say the utility service workers should not relax, at least until the end of the next week.
There will be less precipitation in the south and east. Most precipitation is in the western and northern regions, where the increase in snow cover in these 2 days can reach 20-30 centimeters again.
A new cyclone is approaching from the north of Italy. From tomorrow, severe frosts will also be added to the blizzards. Reported by Roman Smoler, Inessa Zanina, UATV News.
Lockdown at the Zurich Zoo. The Swiss city closed the popular leisure spot in December due to the restrictive measures during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now the zoo workers know that one more concern has been added to the cold weather and financial problems. The animals have become attached to visitors and miss them. Because of this, animals can get sick, say zoologists. Some species miss people especially.
Well, that's quite a surreal feeling. A zoo is a place made by people for the people, and having a closed zoo for so many weeks now it's a very strange feeling. We do have some species that usually interact quite a lot with our visitors, our great apes, especially our gorillas, and quite surprisingly actually our penguins. And so there you can actually see these days when you go to their enclosure that they react quite a lot. You know, they're almost happy to see some people again.
That's all for this hour. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook pages. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.